we're going to build a new necklace for the character. And this is a piece of geometry that we didn't build in the previous courses. It's something that we want to add now that we look at it and we think, well, this open area right here on the chest, I think it could use some ornamentation or something. So we can actually build geometry at this point, and then we can add detail in Substance Painter versus going in and sculpting it. So let's say that we want to do that. We'll go ahead and take the geometry, the body geometry that we have right now, and I'm just going to hide it for now. We have the head geometry in there. That's okay. We can leave that. And so this is the area that I want to use. And I want to use the high body, again, as a live object. So we'll select it, and we will make it live. And we're going to use quad draw again to create this. Now, this is something we could use. We could bring in some cubes and do this very quickly as well. But then you'd have to kind of move them into position and do all of that. Here, we can draw them directly onto the surface. And so without anything else selected, let's go back into our modeling toolkit, go to quad draw. And I basically just want to draw 3 squares on top of the chest here in the right area. So I'm going to start here, and let's do kind of right in the middle. We'll do here and then kind of right in the middle. And then we'll go ahead and make one kind of like that. And then let's make one, give it some space, and we'll do one kind of over here. And again, I want a line in the center. And if you need to turn off the clothing, we can just hide that for now. It's kind of getting in your way. And so something like that. All right. And let's make it a little bit wider. So these are the 3 kind of pieces for our necklace here. So once we've got this done, we can turn off quad draw, and then we can treat these just as regular polygon objects. Let's go ahead and turn off our live surface. Go back here, and I'm going to turn off the layer here so that we're just working with this now. I'm going to go to a poly modeling shelf. Let's go to our multi-cut tool. I'm just going to add a line right in the center. So holding down Control and Shift will enable you to add a line right in the middle there. Now let's take these points on the corners. Okay, so all of the corners of this. Let's go to Edit Mesh, and we're going to come down to chamfer vertices, and let's open up the options, and I want to remove the face after the chamfer. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we can change the width. So let's do maybe something like, I think 0.25, or well, maybe that's a little bit too much. Maybe 0.2 is going to be good. All right. Now we've got n-gons here. I like the shape, but I don't want to have any n-gons. And so I'm going to go back in to my multi-cut, and I'm just going to come down from these corners to the center and back up. Do the same thing here and back up, and do that all the way around. And then I'll do the same thing on the middle one, back down, and then here to the middle and back up. So we end up with something like that. Now let's go ahead and go back to object mode, Control E to extrude, and let's add some thickness to these. So we'll kind of pull the thickness out this way. Let's remove our divisions. We end up with something like that. Now I want to add a sort of necklace piece that comes around, the piece that kind of combines it together. And so we can do that just by simply adding a torus. And let's bring the torus up into position. Let's go to its creation parameters. We'll increase the radius, rotate it so that it's in a better position. We want it to kind of penetrate through the top of these. So we'll decrease our radius a bit. Let's take down our section radius as well, so it's a little bit thinner. And this is our game geometry. We don't need all that resolution. So let's change our subdivisions along the height down to something like 6 or 8. All right. And then we can take our points, hit B to go to soft select. We can open up our tool properties or tool settings. Let's increase our fall off radius to maybe 5. And it'll depend to maybe 10. And it'll depend on your scale, what this value is. And we'll go ahead and pull this down a little bit. Let's grab these, pull them up. And then here, I'm going to just bring this back in like that. So it's kind of sitting more on the surface. Okay, and then we can turn our clothes back on if you want to kind of see that. So now we've got a little bit more detail in there that we can add some texture to. It can be part of our gold pieces, and did it very quickly using Quad Draw. Again, you could go ahead and create cubes and bring them up in there just like that in the same way as well. All right, so now that we've got that, the next thing that we want to do is build the low-res game res medallion. So we'll do that next. Now let's create the game version of the medallion on the front here. And so you can see here, this is basically a cylinder, and all of this detail we can get with a normal map. The problem is we want to also be able to get this silhouette, which includes a lot of up and down. And so we need to try to get something that is optimized here, where we don't have a lot of geometry, knowing that we're going to get a lot of the detail with a map, but also we need some geometry here to be able to get the silhouette. So let's see how we can do this. If you have geometry left from your Maya geometry from a previous course, for instance, we have one here, but this doesn't have any of the creation nodes. And so I want to be able to have very specific control over the division. So I'm actually going to create a new one. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to create a cylinder, and I want to bring it up into position. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to start by rotating at 90 degrees. I know it's not at 90 degrees here. We're going to have to rotate it a little bit, but I want to get close. I'll increase the radius, and then I just want to put it into position and sort of get it exactly where this one is. And so radius looks pretty good. Maybe go to 10, move it in here. Let's rotate it slightly to where it's, you can see kind of the same amount there. We can also play with the height. So I'm going to come down to kind of the height of those raised areas. And if I remember right, I believe that there are 72. When I sculpted this, there was 72 raised areas all the way around. So I had the symmetry set to 72. So what that means is I'm going to try to set these subdivisions to 72, and let's see if that works. And so let me take the radius, and I'm going to temporarily take it down a little bit. And so what I want to do is rotate this so that the lines are between all of these dots. And looking around, if I'm off at all, you'll see at some point the lines will start to not be in the center. They'll be kind of in the middle of them. But if I'm right on, it should be in the center all the way around. And it actually looks good. So let me take my radius down to like the lower point here, kind of right down here, maybe 9.65 or something like that. All right. Now you can see here where it's kind of rotated. So I'm actually going to mimic that a little bit. I'm going to take this line here, and let me turn off symmetry for a second. And I'm going to take this front edge, and I'm just going to rotate it a little bit. And I'm going to double click on this back edge and rotate it a little bit. Let's rotate a little bit more. And so something like that. So it actually follows along with the angle there. Now I also can come in here, and I have rotated this. So if I go in and add things now, it's going to mess that up. And so I want to go ahead and select the faces on the front here. And so I'm going to go through and select all the faces here. And then from the side, I'm going to deselect any of the faces on the back. So I just want the front. Now I'm going to hit Control E to extrude. And let me turn off, and let me go in now and just scale this. And I'm going to scale it down so that we get a line right where that raised area starts. Okay, so something like that. Now I'm going to extrude again. And this time I'm going to pull it out with no divisions. And then we can, again, go to scale. And I'm just going to scale this down again so it's kind of fits that deal. Okay. And now we can raise up these areas on the rim. And so I'll go ahead and select all of these, Control E to extrude. Let's turn off keep faces together, and then we'll add a little bit of thickness kind of out to the top part of that. So maybe 0.38 or so. I'll kind of dial this down until I'm just get a hint of the top there. Let's turn off the divisions. We can also take our offset, and let's do 0.1, something like that. Maybe a little bit more. We can go maybe 0.2, something similar to that. So here we have the silhouette that we want, but then we also have a ton of extra geometry, right? We don't need all of these lines. We need them out here. We don't need them in here. And so what we can do is actually consolidate our points. And so let's just start right here. And I'm going to select 2 of these and I'm going to do a merge. Okay. And then I'm going to select the next 2 and hit G to repeat that. I'm going to jump over, click these 2 and these 2. And I'm just going to work my way around like this. And as long as we do it evenly, we'll still have a nice round shape in the center, which is what we want. Make sure we've got both of these selected. We're just going to work our way around. Okay, so now we've come down from this outer resolution to a lower resolution inside here. Now we could keep going as well. We could come in and start to take these and merge these together. Again, just coming and doing every other one here, all the way around, like that. And you could even start to merge these together as well. If you wanted to, if you felt like you were not getting too much faceting, I think I'm actually going to leave that. So depending on, you know, the edge that you want to get there, you can dial that down. So that'll let you get a little bit of a lower resolution. Let's go ahead and delete our history. And so we can use that for our low res piece. I'm going to go ahead and soften the normals, soften the edges, and then we'll be able to use that to create our map from. All right, so now that we've got our medallion, the next thing we'll do is to go ahead and retopo the horns. So we'll do that next.